not having the right, I won't say the right foundation, but there's some foundational things that we had to have in place that we didn't have in place. And then we experienced grief. I lost my younger brother in 2014. Our marriage was not even 2 years yet, maybe roughly 2 years plus. And I think that's where things we hit something really, that was the first very difficult season for me, very difficult season of marriage, in terms of how I thought you would respond, or how I thought you responded to grief, or losing my brother passing away, and all the questions I had. But not seeing you cry or not seeing you grieve publicly affected me. And I think that's where I started to discuss. I didn't know that was happening, but when I chose to relocate or move away, I thought I was doing it to be close to my family, because my family lives abroad. And I felt like nobody around me understood what I was dealing with. My mom had to go, because when it all happened, it was not like there was a sickness or something that we expected. It was a sudden death, and it was traumatic because it happened in front of me. You weren't there. And anyway, and all of that, I just figured that you didn't feel what I felt, or the loss was not as personal for you. And I think it hurt me, and I didn't talk about it. But and also you had this desire to see me get over it quickly. Oh, I felt that way. I felt like you wanted me to just get on with life and move on. You know, grief can invite grief. And I know I wasn't doing really well. I was losing weight. I was barely myself. We had the baby that I wasn't sure I was even able to. I was just in a routine of just caring for him, but I wasn't present. He would go to work. I thought you had a life, and I was just alone in my grief with the baby. And my mom had to travel to be with my siblings so that they could just support her in that season. And the next thing, I felt like nothing is happening for me here. And I made a selfish decision, I know, looking back, to just be away, like give you space and have space to grieve. I justified it with many things. I can't remember all I said at the time. But you agreed because you wanted me to be fine. And I went away and I took a course. I just started to just breathe again, because in that time I was a shadow of myself. I didn't understand what was going on. Everything was just happening around me. I wasn't there. And I can't imagine what marriage was like, because you had to sacrifice quite a bit. At the time my brother passed, we had to move from my mom's house to be with her before she traveled. And then we ended up staying there, having paid rent in our own apartment. I didn't think of all the things you were sacrificing. All I felt was what I needed and I wasn't getting. And then the pressure of, I wanted to feel seen or understood. You know, grief is an interesting thing. It was a different experience for me. I experienced loss before with my dad, but it didn't feel the same way when I lost my brother. And people telling you to get over it was I just felt very hurt. And I just felt I never had any room to grieve. I was always having to be strong for your mom, be strong for your child, be strong for... And everything was just inside. And for someone who extroverted and talked a lot, I wasn't talking. I wasn't allowed to talk with you, especially at that time. Because you didn't know what to do. I think you didn't know how to deal with the grief, I guess. Looking back at that's what it was. But then I traveled, and I was away for almost 2 years. You would come, and God was gracious enough. You would come. What could bring you, we're in the UK, what could bring you there, or you would come to visit us. So we got to see each other, but everything was superficial. Now looking back, I don't know that we're building any connection, because number one, now our marriage was still very young, and we were spending even more time apart. Not building the things that needed to be built, not having the right dynamic, the rhythm was off and on. And yeah, I think it was destructive, but God was gracious. I think it was destructive. I think you were very sacrificing. You were very accommodating. And my husband is you're not the verbal type. He doesn't express himself verbally. In fact, he would just tell you he's thinking about something, but you just won't hear any feedback. That's even till today, so it was a challenge because I never knew what I was thinking or feeling really, and we're just doing the routine stuff. Okay, the child, our son needs this. Oh, I need that. We just send this. Oh, we just do that. But that's all we're talking about really, connecting on superficial things in my opinion. But I didn't even notice that then. I was just going through the motions, just being. But I think one of the first few things that started to help us was I realized very quickly that I was living a single mom life, even though I was married, and it didn't make sense. So I called him after Christmas one year, realizing that he was spending Christmas by himself. New Year by himself, and this is not good. So I told him I want to come home and I want us to be together. And then he said, "Oh, but you've just gotten a job and you're just starting to, things are starting to go well for you over there. Why not just see things through? Just don't start and stop things. Just see things through." But I felt, no, this doesn't feel right. I feel like I'm making it just by myself. I'm doing a lot of things by myself. The only thing I do is talk on the phone with you, or when you come around for a few days or weeks. But it was not feeling right.